hot day, and there's tons of water and food all behind us. Again, masks, gloves, and where they go? They're going to
Sharon Stafford.
Sharon Stafford, right across from the town garage.
Safety has everything there.
No, it's the third house on the left.
Most of us, we live paycheck to paycheck. And that's what my biggest fear is. 2 weeks down the road from now, what is it going to be like? Are we going to be forgotten again? What's going to be available? Yeah, we've got FEMA out there helping us, but we don't know if we can move back in at this point. Where do we go from here on such low incomes or medium incomes? We both work hard, but we still, I just don't know. It's hard to say. I hope nobody forgets, but it's hard to say. To live it. I hear so much about Katrina and that everything is still going. 6 years later, everybody, you still have people living in campers. I hope it doesn't go that far here. I'm hoping it wasn't as extravagant as Katrina, that things can be cleaned and fixed and done with within a year. Time will tell. All I can say is I hope to get back to my own life. I sat here the other night talking to Ed, the landlord's son, and I just sat here and it was a beautiful evening, 5, 6 o'clock, we were just settling down for the night, getting ready to head out, and I said, I just sat here thinking in tears, I'm like, my boys would be out riding their bikes right now. I'd be fixing dinner, I'd be prepping for the next school day, and now we're packing up our life and moving on. It's hard. I don't know, I'm just, we live day to day. I've worked hard for everything I've earned. Nobody's ever handed anything to me that I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do. Why aren't they here? Why aren't they seeing this firsthand?
Right.
I understand we get the eyes of our representatives, but pictures don't do it justice, as you guys probably know.
Right.
Until you actually see it firsthand, it's hard to picture it.
So we're gonna try. We'll definitely try to keep
it going, guys.
so that
I hope I was some help anyway. I'm not much into the political thing, but I just feel that people need to know we're here. They really need to know what we're going through. It's hard. It's hard. Really, really hard. The money thing has never been. I've always just been worried about my own self. I don't try not to get too involved in everybody else's problems or money issues, or I get frustrated with certain things. But at my level, what am I? And this is what you're for. You're to get people like me out there so people know there are people that live with this type of situation, I guess. But I don't know. It's just it's tough. Tough.
Yeah.
Tough situation to be in. Yeah.
So can you just point to that again and explain what that is?
You tell them that's our water level. So that's Irene's water level.
That's how high the flood was?
Yeah.
All the way up over your head.
Yeah, he would have been in trouble, huh?
Oh,
At least if he was outdoors. Yeah, that means the unit's in clear. You can see here a little bit, but our back door really has a great mark on our back door. That's too bad. It wasn't much, but it was ours. That's what I keep telling people. It wasn't much, but it was our home. And really good.
How long had you folks been here?
We've been here, let's see, about 8 years actually, definitely. That's my marker number 2.
Oh man.
Yeah, that would have been way over your head back here because we dip a little bit here. So, can you tell them what it is? Yes, you can. So that's our flood mark. Landmark of Irene. Oh, buddy. Crazy. This was full of lots of, we must have had everybody's kerosene right here. It was terrible.
Actual
Kerosene.
liquid fuel.
Liquid fuel was loaded. This is what I'll be here. But I'll tell you what, the environmental people were phenomenal. They were here, I don't think it was any later than 10 o'clock Monday morning.
How'd they get it out?
they soak them all up in these rags, which are made just for fuel. They don't soak water or anything. And then they put them in these big bins. And I actually think there's still a couple here. One of these types of things. Put it down, please. And they're only good for soaking fuel. They won't soak water. They won't soak any other liquid but fuel.
That's great.
And then they leave these to kind of do remnants out of the ground. Then they took a reading, which I guess came up a little hazmatic or something, I guess. But
And does that concern you in terms of being able to move back here?
it is a little concern, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, from what we understand, if they decide to do it, they have to scrape 3 to 5 inches, from what we understand, to, contaminate the ground, from what we understand. Yeah, but that's okay, because if they take a foot and add 3 feet, we might be pretty good for flood zone. What do you think? At least they wouldn't get inside as high. But it does. It's a little a little concerning, but state will do what they need to do, and hopefully we can get back in here.
And how could you explain your emotions and just how this feels to you right now? Yeah, I'm sure
it's saddening. It's heartbreaking. Truly heartbreaking to know that, every night, let's go home. Where's home? Every night. And he's like, Mom, where are we going? Are we going home? It's a reaction. Let's go home tonight, and we can't. There's no way to go. But we pulled through. We're doing well. We've done well this week because we've stayed busy. And next week when we start school, we'll try to get back to a little normalcy in life, and see what we can do. But it's hard. It's hard. Just take a morning and forget that you have a home, and then 6, 7 o'clock at night, you got a 9-year-old that says, let's head home. Or the other day he was like, Mom, can we go home? Where? Where do you want to go? Because there isn't a home. It's hard. Who would have ever thought they'd be homeless?
How's it feel for you?
Yeah.
What's this been like?
Can you tell me how you've been feeling?
Has it been tough?
One word.
Think of one word that you can think of. Hard. Hard. It's been very hard. And sad. Huh? He's been great. He's been at daycare, and I don't think it's hit him yet.
Yes.
I really don't think it's hit him.
Sydney from Food Not Bombs Burlington here at Patterson Park in Duxbury, Vermont. We brought all this food down to help the people get some food while they're working, and I messed up, but we're here serving food at Patterson while people are cleaning up from the flood. People are working hard all day. We're glad to be here. Hopefully we'll come back next week and be a resource for people throughout the difficult weeks to come. Yeah, Food Not Bombs Burlington.
And where'd the food come from that you cooked with?
Oh, great, yeah. All this food came from City Market and the farmers at the Burlington Farmers Market. Yeah, great donations. We got tons of food. They were pleased to help. The second they heard about it, they just gave it all away. It was awesome. Yeah.
And how does it feel to be able to take food from your community and share it with a really low-income community that's on the front lines of the hurricane?
Oh, I mean, it's been great. It's awesome because even farmers that were affected by the flood were compelled to give food to the cause also, which is awesome. So I think that all the different people who are willing to donate have been great. Even in this town, people are donating stuff and food. It's been great.
Sounds good, man.
And do you think the hurricane has a connection to climate change?
Oh, I mean, we thought we were safe in Vermont, but it came here too. So yeah, I think it's affecting everyone all over the world.
I'm Michael Levine, this is my wife Susan.
And where are we right now?
We're in Duxbury, Patterson Trailer Park. We had a storm that came through on Sunday, approximately 20 after 6. I was sitting at the window over there on the right when I received a phone call from my daughter that lives up in Waterbury itself. She notified us that they were evicting the town of Waterbury, evacuating. We had nobody come to our place to let us know what was going on with the water out in Waterbury, which is stone throw away. But anyways, we went outside. I was going to go into town and check on the water situation. When I opened the door, there was roughly 3 to 4 inches of water traveling across the driveway. So I told Susan we ought to think about maybe getting a bag packed and head out of here. We'd come back in the morning not knowing that we were going to come back to no home at all. Again, this took place on Sunday. Come Tuesday, we were finally recognized by the town of Duxbury that we had problems over here. Mr. Patterson, Ed Patterson himself, had went across the pond and talked to some people, Bill, I'm not sure his last name, but he's select board on Waterbury side, and expressed to him that we were having some difficulties. His mother, Ramona Patterson, had ordered dumpsters, which we finally did get that resolved after 4 or 5 days, that they would pay for ours. But there was all sorts of pamphlets coming out for Waterbury stating what they were paying for, what was going on, the food that was being processed over there. We have another resident here, Tracy, which is a good friend of ours, that attempted to go over on a Wednesday to pick up some hot dogs to bring back over here. She was actually turned away, which therefore we were upset enough where Tom Stevens, select board, Waterbury side, had came over and introduced himself, and he was going to resolve this problem. It happened to be a gentleman that worked for Coffee Roasters, presenting himself as an employee that presented the food, but I guess at that point it was out of pocket, which we didn't understand why he would do such a thing. But we were actually turned away from food on Waterbury side. After Wednesday, we actually had more help than we've actually known what to do with, from all over Montpelier, Burlington, Williston, Craftsbury. It's just been an awful mess. Governor Shumlin came in. He's actually going to have a meeting with me and my wife on Tuesday. They're going to try to find not only us some housing. I mean, we have a dog and everything, so we kind of need a place of our own to, whether it's another mobile somewhere, somebody has a camper they want to lend us, whatever. But there's a lot of victims that are definitely a lot worse shape than we are, as far as, you know, roads washed out, they can't even get nowhere. But again, Patterson Park was only 19 residents, and I don't feel that we were recognized quick enough or even notified that we might want to get out. We had to take a couple elderly out of here Sunday evening by canoe because they were trapped in their homes. No notification whatsoever. So I'm sure Duxbury will definitely change their ways, or at least have an emergency person that they can rely on and be in charge of, you know, problems like this that may occur in the future. And that's pretty much what happened over here in this little community of ours.
And you say the water hit pretty quick.
Very quick.
Within 7 minutes.
It went from 4 inches to about 4 feet.
Yeah, roughly. We had 39 inches inside the dwelling, and our skirting outside, of course, is roughly 2 foot. So it was almost a total of 6 feet of water that came through. So yeah, within 7 minutes, you might as well say you had a home and you no longer had a home, because when I came back 45 minutes prior to see if they needed help to get anybody else out, it was already at chest level, and I'm not a small person, so.
And the overall destruction in the park?
Disaster.
It's total disaster.
Total disaster.
Everybody lost. There was only one individual in the park that claims that they only had a carpet get wet and a piece of linoleum, which
We still have not been able to understand, but they have it so no one can get in there to even look at it. But they're saying that only one thing was ruined, but yet the people to the side, both sides of them are destroyed. So we don't know how that occurred, that theirs only ended up with that. But everyone else here has been total disaster. Everyone.
Some vehicles?
Five vehicles, 3 of which were brand new.
of course
They couldn't
two
get
of
them out
them
of
were our
town.
family, so 2 of our family lost theirs.
Your family lost?
Yeah, which are still out here. There's one on my
Still
lawn,
here.
and there's one in the driveway across the way. It's a white Chevy and a green Honda.
We had like a little family community here.
I live in this residence. My nephew lives in an apartment above the garage out here.
My
Directly
sister-
behind me, my sister lives in this home. Beside her, my niece lives on the other side. So it was kind of like a little
family thing.
Yeah.
family thing in this corner.
maybe afterwards you could just give me a quick tour so I can do it. And then this is your kitchen.
That's my kitchen.
And
We had
and
just remodeled.
my camera isn't that great, but it's and you can clearly, even after the flood, I mean it's a beautiful kitchen.
It was. I did a lot of work in it myself. I built everything that's in here.
We were going through, we gutted out the whole house. We were all the way to the bare outside wall and we replaced everything. We went with real insulation, real 2x4s, put brand new ceilings, new rafters, put a brand new roof, we put a brand new furnace. I mean, we went, and the whole kitchen is all brand new. A lot of it was a Christmas gift from my children because they knew we wanted it so bad. The only thing I got to save out of my whole kitchen was the microwave that went over my stove. That was the only thing that was savable in this room.
Been quite a year for me. I had my appendix blow up in January. I had a heart attack April 10th, and now I've had this.
Lost a lot home.
Really enjoying life.
2012. Hopefully it's gonna be a lot better for Vermont.
Well, I kept saying every time he ended up back at the hospital this year, because it's been 5 times this year and it's not even over, that he's been rushed back to the hospital. So I said nothing can get any worse, and then we end up losing our home, which is probably one of the worst things that can ever happen, because now it's like we're starting from scratch. I don't have a picture of my children from when they were babies. I lost them all, and I was starting to deal with it until they started tearing the outside of my house apart. Now I know I really don't have a house. But I don't know. We've got a lot of our hard work was in here. Guess we'll have to start all over again.
And you were saying that you've been a lot of people. Last few days have been coming out and responding and
Incredibly.
Definitely.
Incredibly. We are very pleased with the amount of people that we have seen these last few days.
Including
But it
yourself,
actually-
for bringing your crew.
It actually took
You guys are doing a lot
until
of
we
work.
actually went to the meeting that we weren't even supposed to be at before we ever got acknowledged. There was a town meeting that was made special for Camel's Hump, for Duxbury. But everyone in the park went to that meeting and we spoke our piece. Camel's Hump people weren't too happy. But neither
Yeah,
were we,
no,
because we hadn't been acknowledged.
Camel's Hump really got a lot of people irritated at that meeting because there was a few people that spoke right up and told us that
We weren't
we're not here
informed.
for the flood damage that just occurred at Patterson Park or Waterbury. Of course, like I said, 2 select boards, you have different meetings, different sides of the bridge, whether you can throw a stone or not. But she was more concerned about her 15-year-old son being able to come down the hill to get on the school bus, or how they were going to carry their groceries up to their residency. At that point, I totally pretty much lost it and told Duxbury, Camel's Hump residents, that they weren't being fair, and they ought to be thinking of the people that have no place to go, not how you're going to get your groceries up the hill. The bridge is definitely needs to be issued and fixed, but they've been working on this since the last storm. They've got a temporary road to get there. We have a road, but we have no place to go. So I'm not sure how
But
this
until that
is
meeting,
working, but
we never really
again,
got acknowledged.
we weren't notified by Duxbury that we were going to have a meeting, whether they were going to have a meeting the next day. It just happened to be that they had one scheduled for that particular day, so we were asked by actually Tom Stevens on the other side select, said you might want to go to the meeting. So we did. And there was a lot of the people from the park here that spoke their piece, and we started being recognized at that point. But until then we weren't.
From that point on.
There was people that said they had called and talked to certain people, but they didn't have names. So apparently, if you're working in the position where you're making the phone call out, you should be getting the name that you talked to, so you can justify that no, they didn't need help, or yes, they're going to need help. It definitely was not organized in any means whatsoever. So, like I said, they don't have Duxbury doesn't have an emergency relief person that would actually be scheduled to go out and
Do all of that.
do what needs to be done as far as checking in and letting people know that they may need to leave the residence, because they were talking way before that the Marshfield Dam was going to be open. There's been a few reporters that we've talked to that have said that yes, they got information that it did get open, which that would have caused the excess water because they were 10-foot panels. But until that is actually out in the open and somebody has proof of it, nobody knows. But there was talk of it, so at that point we should have been notified that you may want to leave your residence.
So they might have opened the
They
dam?
may have opened the Marshfield Dam, and if they did, that would have caused the extra water down through the Winooski, which would have really
Made this
did
mess.
this mess.
And if they were going to do that, they should have.
At least notified everybody to get out of here because it would make a terrible mess.
Yeah.
But until we actually,
It may not have saved any of the structures, but you definitely would have been able to get more personal belongings out if you would have had an hour
His vehicles.
notice, vehicles.
I mean,
We
didn't even
if
have
I
5
wouldn't have got
minutes.
the phone call from my daughter up in Waterbury and went outside the residence and knowing everybody,
We would have been smoking
people
out here.
would have been in their house until they, what is the water coming in for? But when I went out and started hollering
Started
and
screaming to everybody.
everybody recognized, hey, we better check this out. Then things started happening. We scrambled and everybody
Started
got
leaving.
out of here, except for, like I said, there was a couple residents we had to bring out by canoe, but we did get them out as well.
But like my niece was away on vacation, so that's why her car ended up there. But
That's pretty much how it took place.
always
How does it feel to be helping out?
Good.
Did you hear about the hurricane, and
Yeah.
is it kind of sad to see?
Yeah, it did a lot of work, like bad work, yeah. It ruined a lot of damage.
And so,
I said it ruined everything.
and so, how does it make you feel inside getting to hand out food to people?
Happy.
And how good are the sandwiches you make?
Good.
What kinds of sandwiches do you make?
Peanut butter and jelly.
And are you like trained experts, or are you just volunteers?
Just volunteers. I'm a volunteer. She lives here. Cousins! Not really.
They met yesterday.
Yeah.
And has this brought you closer together as cousins?
Yes.
Volunteer.
Hill, Patterson's Trailer Park, Duxbury, Vermont, 05676.
How long you lived here, Fred?
About 16 years.
So what happened?
We knew there was going to be Hurricane Irene. There was a lot of notice of it on television. The water came up to the edge of the trailer park. I've seen that happen 5 or 6 times in 16 years I've been here, but it kept coming. It rose really, really fast, and I was probably the last one out of this end of the trailer park, and it was somewhat dangerous, but not that bad. But it did a lot of damage to all the trailers. There's anywhere from 2 or 3, 4 feet of water in the trailers' living quarters, so there's a lot of damage. My advice to people is drive 4 cylinders and plant trees.
What's going to happen to everyone who lives here?
There's only one in the trailer park. I think they're going to. Some people are going to find other residences. Most people now. Nobody's staying here now. They've got places to stay, and I think some people can come back. The trailers dry out, and hopefully it doesn't flood out again. But with global warming the way it is, it wouldn't surprise me that we have more flooding. Very few people carried flood insurance. I had other expenses. I had flood insurance part of the time I was in here, but you can't make instant judgments on that. It takes 30 days for flood insurance to take effect.
How much stuff did you lose?
I had a lot of aggravation. A lot of stuff can be repaired. My bedding's all gone, my mattresses, my sofa, my chair. That stuff's not going to dry out without damage. I had a lot of clothing. I had a lot of books that were ruined and some papers and notebooks. A lot of clothing got really muddy. The water was really muddy. It has to be washed carefully. There's a lot of problems with disease mixed in with the mud. The septic systems, I assume some of them backed up, some of them didn't. We have septic systems here. We have city water, public water. The water's still good. Other than that, there's nothing here. There's no heat. There's no television. There's no phones.
Was the flooding, the flood water, was it dangerous in any way?
I would say there was a lot of current. The last woman out of this end of the trailer park was about 82 years old. She has bad legs. We put her in a sedan, that was the next to last vehicle out of this end. And when the sedan went out, the guy that was driving it, he said the water was over his headlights. He told me that the next day. I drove out behind him, but I've got a Jeep and it's up high and it's four-wheel drive. I was not worried that way, but I knew there was going to be a lot of damage here. I didn't like that.
The people that live here, how hard is this going to be?
It's really hard. I don't think people want to admit it, but it's really hard. I mean, they knew we could flood out. We know we're in the floodplain. The damage downtown in some ways worse because other people have houses. People here in the trailers, they don't have as much money invested, but they work and their income probably isn't that great, but I don't know what their income's like. My trailer myself, I didn't really make a commitment here. I'm here, but I have a really small trailer and it wasn't that valuable. I pay taxes like I'm supposed to, but it's not that much tax. I don't have that much to lose here. But it's really aggravating, and I have lost some stuff. It's inconvenient, but I'm driving a four-cylinder. I get 26 miles a gallon. I'm doing the best I can. If I had a bigger lot, I'd plant some trees. That's what helps. That definitely helps.
You think this flood was caused by climate change?
I think definitely the turbulence we have in the air, the melting of the global ice pack causes huge turbulence in the air, and it's not just north; it's south also. It's down in the Antarctic, and there's no question about the severity of the weather. I know people that ski. It's just great skiing in Vermont, but because we're having so much precipitation. But at some other levels, it causes huge damage. Huge damage. This tsunami we had down in New Orleans, I haven't recovered from that. As I recall, that was 8 years ago. It was a tremendous loss of life. It's definitely caused by global warming.
Why do you think more isn't done about global
I
warming?
think people aren't really geared up to make amends for it. We have really good life we have a capitalistic democracy. We have a lot of natural resources. We're a really wealthy country. We aren't geared up to walk a lot, use bikes, and use four cylinders. We all use air conditioning. The warmer it gets, the more air conditioning we use. The more air conditioning we use, the more we burn energy and pollute the atmosphere. I mean, I'm not. I mean, this is a green state, but it should be greener. But a lot of